beautiful Seventh-day Adventist, I wouldn't say church or movement, but family. Because whenever you come here, you see this church is a family, and I think you ought to celebrate the fact that you operate like a family. Because for me, a family is a structure that offers support, a structure that offers comfort, and a structure that can withstand the variation of challenges when it comes your way, and that is important. Today, there are many things that I want to share with you. You see, in my humble view, and people who fear God, all of us who fear God, would understand that the ultimate purpose of our life is to inherit something greater and better than where we are now. So when people say that there is hope every time you have life for another day, we know that there is hope even after we don't have life. Once you traverse this passage within the boundaries and limits that has been set for us to traverse it. And I think if this fact is appreciated among the wider and the general family of humanity, then half, if not all of our world problem would come to an end. But for me, in a humble way, I would say leadership is a journey. Leadership is not static. If we believe that leadership is static, then we should take the example of McDonald's when they went to India and they carried the same menu. Within a week, they knew that they had to change it, otherwise it would have been shut down. So what leadership is now we have to separate leadership from organization. There are organizational goals, but leadership is how do individuals contribute in providing guidance to the achievement of the organizational goals. At this level, there are biblical goals. There are goals that is set in the religious texts. And if the question is, how do we apply leadership to achieve the goals of the religious texts? And that is important. That is challenging, especially in an ever-changing environment. Now, the principles of the text cannot change. The values of the religious text cannot change. But the leadership has to be adaptable and flexible in the environment in which it is operating to achieve the goals that are set in the religious context or the organizational context. And that is the difference between the two, the principles there. So the first thing I want to say, especially in this very complex world that we have to navigate, and two of the most challenging profession in navigating this complex world are religious leaders and political leaders, because you have that very delicate situation sometimes to say this can't stand, and the world is going in that direction where you believe that it cannot stand. And sometimes I say what democracy is really the right of choice and freedom. But when you want to impose your choice and freedom on my choice and freedom, then what question arise? And this is a question that political leaders and religious leaders have to navigate every single day. And that is the difference. How do we navigate these challenges? And you will have an opportunity to discuss some of this today. And you must be bold enough in this conference to call every issue out. The complexity of the issue should not avoid debating and analyzing and seeking to formulate a plan in how do you lead in such an environment, in this complex, very, very, very complex environment. I told some very young persons just recently that when I look at artificial intelligence, AI, and the direction it is going in, I really am very, very sorry for political leaders coming 10 years from now, because it is going to be a completely different world. It is going to be The AI is going to, if you don't have proper legislation, and if we don't build an environment that is robust enough to withstand what AI can do, it can be very challenging for leaders across the world. So I want to say that in this complex world environment, the leadership of the church, not the church, I'm separating the two, has to be adaptable and flexible. However, the leadership, though adaptable and flexible, must be shaped by the values, principles, and foundational beliefs on which your leadership stands. Now, this is a second aspect of the complexity, because your leadership in the church and the religious community stand on something. It is not leadership by Maslow theory or any one theory. It's leadership that stands on a foundation, because you are not leading a restaurant. You're leading a church. That is your organization that is birthed out of a religious context. So that leadership must hold true to the values, principles, and fundamental beliefs that shape what it is. Now, my dear sister, the treasurer, said something that I think we would generally overlook, but it's very powerful. When she said that the purpose of our existence, I'm just going to elaborate a bit on what you said. The purpose of our existence is, part of it is to provide leadership. But she did not say here leadership to the Christian community, although she is speaking to Christian leaders generally. What did she say? She said leadership to all God's people. And that is a very powerful statement. From the time we confine ourselves that our leadership is to the church, our leadership is to the Christian people, then we are not fulfilling the role that we have to play as leaders, because leadership is for all God's people, the sinners and those who believe they're not sinners. So let's be clear on that. So that is very, very important for us to understand. That if there's a saying that if you keep preaching to the converted, then you're not heading anywhere. You have to provide that leadership to the wider community. And that wider community, in providing that leadership, requires some very, very important attributes. To walk over to someone you consider your enemy with love is not easy. But it comes from your foundational belief. And that is the difference here. The difference here is that the church and the religious bodies are not fighting over oil or geographic boundaries. You're not fighting over sanctions. You are providing leadership to promote the equitable nature of the human family, to promote the peaceful coexistence, not existence, the peaceful coexistence of people in every tribe. And this is not my words, by the way. And if you go to all the religious texts, you would see that it is referred, this very principle as to who we provide leadership for is referred to in every single religious text. For example, in the book of Revelation, in chapter 7, verses 9 to 10, we read, and I quote, "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count." It did not say a Christian group. It did not say a Baha'i group. It did